Hi everyone, today's video is all about dealing with blue lights. It's something that many people get wrong really badly. However, today I'm going to try and give you a few tips and hints to help you sort it out a lot easier. If you continually nod your head at the things that I'm talking about, you're more than likely doing a good job. There's no audio in this clip, however, it's clear that all the drivers can hear that there's an emergency service vehicle approaching. They split quite nicely, although some of them are on the pavement. We're going to talk about this shortly. However, notice how a staggered formation can also help the situation, especially when you've got big vehicles in the other lane. Everyone's created an easy corridor for the emergency service vehicles to go through. Good job here. This clip's from the Netherlands and it's a good fix, but it directly addresses the point that I've just made about driving on pavements to give emergency service vehicles a route through. In the UK, the advice is not to drive up pavements to allow emergency services through, and I'm never going to go against that advice. However, I do think there are some situations where you may have to. Primarily, make sure there's no pedestrians who are going to be anywhere near you. Try not to damage your own vehicle whilst doing it, and only do it for literally the shortest distance you need to. I understand the potential damage to pavements, especially with a big lorry following behind. However, is that more important than someone's life? Back to the UK for this clip, and quite an unusual situation. Again, no audio on this file, however, my viewers already heard the emergency services coming, I think. They're growing space from themselves and the blue car in front, and they use the bus stop nicely to allow the emergency services through. And it's the police this time. But why is the police car now turning the blue lights off? Because this is unknown, my viewer again does a great job. They hold back and leave options. All will become clear. It looks as though the police would like to have a word with the driver of that red car. Again, no audio, however, it's another interesting clip. Not many people would have experienced this. Love that. I always go on a lot about anticipation and how it can make things safer. Well, anticipation of a car purchase can also make things safer, and that's where Car Vertical comes in. Simply by inputting the VIN number or registration of the vehicle that you're looking at into the Car Vertical website can get you a detailed report sent to your desktop or your mobile phone within a minute. These reports reveal critical information such as mileage history, number of owners, theft records and whether the car's been written off or damaged. And if your car has been damaged, these reports can also contain photos, and sometimes, just like this Golf, it's a before and after set of pictures. Using one of these reports before you purchase reduces the chance of fraud and may even increase your negotiating power. Remember, don't leave anything to chance. Checking more than one car also gives you a better deal. Use the code Ashley and you can save 20% on checking out one car, but it saves you 50% on checking out multiple cars. Don't leave any car unchecked. Thanks, Car Vertical.
I'm in London on Friday.
Yeah. I'll put the restaurant past.
It was only really quiet, but this is the first time I was able to hear the sirens when I was editing.
Give me a chance, man. Siren just started then.
That's quite dangerous.
I think the noise was just suppressed by the wooden boards surrounding the road. Always be ready to stop. Again, unfortunately no audio. However, it's really important to be able to deal with emergency services when you're cycling also. This looks as though it's training to me. However, have you noticed a few times I've mentioned listening or audio? It's really important. Most of the time you're going to be able to hear the emergency services before you can see them, and this gives you a head start on what to do. Planning is everything, remember. I'm not sure why this next car behind my viewer moves to lane 2. However, my viewer's got the whole situation covered and allows an easy passage through. Another cycling clip, and this demonstrates one of my pet hates when you do the correct thing and allow an emergency service vehicle past. Anyone who's pulled in front of you to let the emergency service vehicle past should be let out in front of you. Simple.
Come on, man.
Selfish bullying tactics from the bus driver there, and they're just going to park literally up the road. Let's have a look at a motorcycling clip helping an emergency service out. Seeing things early and taking up a decisive position and speed help the emergency services no end. Try not to target fixate at the emergency service. Instead, try and think of the space that you're best putting yourself in. My viewer didn't do well here. Continuing earlier would have been a much better option. A perfect clip to demonstrate looking far. We couldn't do this with many dash cameras, but with this top of the range VFO A329, it's no issue. My viewer spots the ambulance coming in the other direction from here. You can clearly see their speed adjustment to try and enable space. Now the red car's stopped, we've got a solution. Great work, and a quality dashcam. Nice one. Another interesting one, the Mersey Tunnel, and we've got a solid white line. We've got a paramedic that's approaching from behind, and my viewer crosses the line and moves to the left. In reality, you shouldn't cross this line. However, I'm going to leave it up to you whether you think it's worth that risk of a ticket. In this situation, I would have done exactly the same as my viewer. Would you? Look as far as you can round corners, just in case this happens. Unmarked vehicles are pretty obviously less obvious. This school crossing patrol did a great job. Here's another clip from the Mersey Tunnel. This time my viewer doesn't move and waits till the centre line goes from a solid line to a broken one.
I'm not moving, mate.
I know this is the correct thing to do, however, I personally think it's absolutely ludicrous. Traffic's only moving in one direction, and there's a clear view. Surely you can move left safely. When you get a licence, you get given the ability to judge and overtake, which in my opinion is way more dangerous than moving across this solid line. It blows my mind when people get issued fixed penalty notices for going into a bus lane to let an emergency service vehicle past. Is the ease of flow for a bus more important than potentially someone's life? Our roads are messed up. Something that really grinds my gears. Ambulance chasers. The epitome of selfishness. This one's an easy one to remember. Where there's one emergency service vehicle, there could be a second one quite soon. I'd also like people to remember that the police don't have to have blue lights on to be responding to an emergency, and the same can actually be said of ambulances with the sirens. In situations like this, please don't take it as the police are being aggressive. They just probably need to get somewhere without making a song and dance about it. Just try and safely move out of the way, get on with your day, and let them get on with theirs. To finish, I'd like to have a little chat about a point that's not often discussed.
Get going, mate.
It was a nice stop by Phil, with no one behind. But sometimes emergency service vehicles get the call to stand down, and this is exactly what happens with this ambulance ahead. Watch closely. The blue lights have just gone off. Please don't make the assumption that these people were just trying to get through traffic. They literally do this job to save people's lives. And if you've ever got offended because you think, oh my God, they've got in front of me, you need to readdress your own impatience. Keep safe, everyone. I'll see you soon.